Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. And today we are going to be taking a look at Caplin Point Laboratories.
Oh, very interesting.
Have you heard of Caplin Point Laboratories?
I haven't personally, but very interested to learn more.
Yeah, they're an interesting company. They
Mhm.
started out pretty small. Back in 1990, they were just a small generic drug maker.
Okay.
And flash forward to today, 2024, we're seeing some pretty impressive growth from them.
Really? Like what kind of growth are we talking?
Well, their revenue has actually surged tenfold,
Wow.
and their profits increased by 17 times.
Really? 17 times.
17 times what they were back in 2014. So
That's impressive.
that's a pretty significant jump. And
Yeah.
get this, they're even going after the U.S. market
Oh, wow.
under their own brand name.
So they're not just generics anymore.
Not just generics anymore. Now they're making a name for themselves.
That's exciting.
So yeah, today we're going to unpack Caplin Point's journey. Take a look at the industry that they're in,
Right.
and most importantly, their recent performance. So we'll be looking at their revenue growth, their profitability,
Right.
R&D investments, regulatory approvals, how far their reach is globally, and also their debt levels.
Sounds like a comprehensive deep dive.
Let's dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
So I think one of the things that really stands out to me about Caplin Point is they didn't take the traditional path.
Right.
A lot of companies, when they're starting out, they want to target those big established markets.
Yeah. Makes sense. Go where the money is.
But Caplin Point did something different. They went for what they call brave markets.
Brave markets. What does that mean?
So think Latin America,
Okay.
think Africa.
All right. A little bit tougher
A
terrain.
little bit tougher,
Yeah.
a little bit riskier,
Yeah.
but it seems to have paid off for them.
It did. How so?
Well, 80% of their revenue now comes from Latin America.
Wow. 80%.
That's a huge chunk.
That is huge.
And they've built an impressive network there too. They have over 30,000 points of distribution.
Wow. That's a lot of touch points.
It's like they built their own highway for getting their medicine out to the people who need it.
It's a smart strategy, especially in those markets where the infrastructure might not be as developed.
Exactly. And, they realized early on that just making the drugs isn't enough.
Right.
They had to master the whole journey, making sure that the quality was there and that it was accessible every step of the way.
So they took control of the entire supply chain.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
call it GDP, or good distribution practices, and it's really become a core part of what they do.
It's like their secret sauce.
It is, and it's a big reason why they've been so successful.
Interesting.
But starting with generics was just the first step.
Okay. Where did they go from there?
Well, now they're getting into research and innovation. They're developing specialized and branded generic products.
So they're moving up the value chain.
They're evolving beyond just simple expansion and really focusing on profitable growth.
And how is that reflected in their financials?
Well, their 2024 financials show that their free cash reserves are actually double the value of their profit after tax.
Wow. So they're not just growing, they're building a really strong financial foundation.
Exactly. It shows they're in it for the long haul.
That's impressive.
But we can't talk about Caplin Point without acknowledging, the global economic landscape.
Right. Things are a bit uncertain right now.
A bit shaky, to say the least.
Oh,
There's,
right.
geopolitical tensions. We got economic headwinds. Everyone's a little bit nervous.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a volatile time for sure.
Where does Caplin Point fit into all of this?
Well, that's where things get interesting because while there is a lot of uncertainty globally, India is actually emerging as a bit of a bright spot.
Really?
Yeah, the economy there is showing resilience and there's a lot of potential for growth.
So they're kind of bucking the trend.
In a way, yes. And within this landscape, the Indian pharmaceutical industry is a major player.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about the pharmacy of the world here.
Exactly, the third largest pharmaceutical industry globally by volume.
That's huge.
It is a powerhouse, and they're responsible for producing something like 20% of the world's generic drugs by volume.
Wow. So they're a major force in the global market.
They are, and the government is really supportive of this industry. They're promoting domestic production and exports through various initiatives like the production-linked incentive schemes.
So the government is actively trying to boost the industry?
Absolutely. They want to make India a net exporter of bulk drugs.
That's a significant goal.
It is a major shift in the global landscape.
So Caplin Point finds itself in this, dynamic, high-growth sector with a lot of support behind it.
Yeah, they're in a good position.
And when we look at their latest quarterly results, that momentum becomes even clearer. They've got solid fundamentals driving a 16% year-on-year increase in operating revenue for fiscal year 2024, hitting a remarkable 1,694 crores.
That's impressive growth.
It is, and it's not just about, top-line growth
Yeah.
either. Their profitability is also looking really good.
Oh, really? Like, what are we seeing there?
Well, their gross profit is up by 21%.
Okay.
Their EBITDA margins are up by 24%.
Well, on EBITDA margins.
Yet, I know not everyone's, a financial whiz.
Right. Sometimes we need a little bit of a breakdown.
So EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Okay, so it's a measure of their core operating profitability.
Exactly. It strips away things like debt and, accounting quirks. So it gives you a clearer picture of how efficiently they're turning revenue into profit.
So that 24% increase in EBITDA margin is a good sign.
It's a very good sign. It means they're getting more bang for their buck.
That's great to hear. What about their profit after tax, their payee?
Oh, yeah, they're payee.
Yeah.
Well, get ready for this one. And it has increased 17 times.
17 times.
17 times since fiscal year 2014.
Wow, that's incredible.
From 26 crores to a whopping 461 crores in fiscal year 2024.
That's a massive jump.
It's a testament to, their operational efficiency and their smart growth strategy.
So they're not just growing, they're growing profitably.
Exactly. But growth isn't just about squeezing every rupee. It's also about investing in the future.
Absolutely. You got to spend money to make money, right?
Exactly. So what's the story with their R&D spending?
Well, they're not skimping on that front either. They invested a substantial 76 crores in R&D in fiscal year 2024.
Okay.
It's actually their second highest investment since 2020.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to innovation.
They are, and they're being pretty consistent about it too, maintaining an R&D spend of around 4.5% of revenue.
That's good to see.
And when needed, they've shown that they're willing to ramp up those investments. Like in fiscal year 2019, they bumped it up to 10.9%.
So they're being flexible and strategic with their R&D spending.
Exactly. They're adapting to the needs of their R&D pipeline.
Smart. And they've got the team, the facilities to back up their ambitions too.
Yeah, they have a 385-strong R&D team.
Wow.
And 5 dedicated facilities.
So they're serious about innovation.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of ambitions, we've got to talk about their regulatory approvals, particularly those crucial US FDA approvals.
Oh, yeah, the golden ticket for any pharma company.
Exactly. It's a sign that you've made it to the big leagues.
So let's talk about those approvals.
Yeah.
I know they had a bunch of applications pending. What's the latest there?
Well, they've got 12 NDAs.
NDAs.
Abbreviated new drug applications. These are essentially applications to market generic versions of existing drugs in the U.S.
Okay, so they're trying to get their foot in the door with the U.S. market.
Exactly. And they've already scored a couple of big wins.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Remind me what those were again?
Well, they got approval for their norepinephrine bitartrate injection, which is a generic version of Livo-PHD.
Okay, and Livo-PHE is?
It's a vital drug used in emergency and critical care settings to restore blood pressure in patients experiencing acute hypotension. So it's a life-saving medication.
Wow. So they're not messing around. They're going for essential high-demand medications.
They are, and the demand for Livo-PHD is constant. So Caplin Point is now in a great position to capitalize on that.
Makes sense. And what about the other approval?
The other one was for their cisatercurium becylate injection, which is a generic equivalent of Nimbec-X.
Nimbec-X, okay. And what does that do?
It's a muscle relaxant used during surgeries to help with intubation and to keep those muscles relaxed.
Another essential medication.
Another one with a steady market, particularly in hospitals and surgical centers.
So 2 crucial drugs, 2 big wins.
It's a clear sign that they're serious about the U.S. market.
They're not just dipping their toes in the water, they're diving right in.
That's right, but it's not just about the U.S. They've got a global vision.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Not at all. They're still dominant in Latin America. Remember, that's where 80% of their revenue comes from. But they're also expanding their presence in Africa and seeking approvals in other regulated markets like Canada and Australia.
So diversification is key for them.
Absolutely. It helps spread their risk and maximize their global reach.
Makes sense. But before we move on, there's one more crucial piece of the puzzle we need to talk about.
Okay, what's that?
Debt levels.
Ah, yes. Debt can make or break a company.
Exactly. So I'm curious to know where Caplin Point stands on that front.
Well, I've got good news for you. As of the latest report, Caplin Point has 0 borrowings.
0.
0. They're completely debt-free.
That's incredible.
It shows incredible financial discipline and really speaks to their ability to grow organically without relying on debt.
So they're in a really strong financial position.
They are. It gives them a lot of flexibility and agility, allowing them to seize opportunities without being weighed down by debt obligations.
So let's recap for a second. We've got a company with an impressive growth story, operating in a booming industry, generating strong profits, investing in R&D, and making waves in the U.S. market.
And they're doing all of this with zero debt.
It's quite a combination.
It certainly is, but what I find really fascinating about Caplin Point is how they're leveraging technology to stay ahead of the curve.
Oh yeah, they mentioned something about a digital vision for their manufacturing operations.
That's right. They're embracing cutting-edge technologies like smart manufacturing and AI.
So they're building a factory of the future.
In a way, yes. They're completely overhauling their manufacturing processes to boost efficiency, quality, and scalability.
Okay, now that's something I want to hear more about.
We'll definitely dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, so get ready for a journey into the world of smart factories, data-driven decision-making, and the future of pharmaceutical manufacturing.
It's going to be exciting.
Stay tuned, everybody. Okay, so we're back and ready to, unpack this digital vision that Caplin Point has for their manufacturing operations.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff.
When I hear digital vision, I'm thinking robots flashing lights,
Well, it's not quite sci-fi movie level, but it is pretty cutting edge.
Okay, so give me the specifics. What kind of technology are we talking about here?
Well, imagine a system where they have, real-time monitoring of every single step in the manufacturing process.
Okay.
So sensors and data analytics are tracking everything from the quality of the raw materials to, how the production lines are performing and even the consistency of the finished product.
So it's like having a digital eye on everything, making sure that, if there's a problem, they catch it immediately.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive and preventing issues before they even arise.
That's really smart. That's got to save them a lot of headache.
Oh, absolutely. And that's just the beginning. They're also incorporating AI into the mix.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting into the really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So how does AI play into all of this?
Well, AI has the power to analyze massive amounts of data, identifying patterns and trends that humans might miss.
Okay.
It's like having a superpowered analyst working around the clock.
So they can predict things like equipment failures before they happen.
Exactly. That's what predictive maintenance is all about. It's a game changer for maximizing efficiency and reducing costs.
Wow. So they can optimize maintenance schedules, minimize downtime, and basically make sure that all their equipment is always in tip-top shape.
Precisely. It's like giving their machines a sixth sense.
That's pretty amazing. But it sounds like AI's role goes beyond just predictive maintenance.
Oh, absolutely. You have to consider, the complexity of pharmaceutical manufacturing. There are so many variables involved.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Temperature, pressure, mixing speeds, the ratios of ingredients, it all has to be precise.
Right. Even the slightest change could throw things off.
Exactly. And that's where AI really shines with its ability to analyze all that data. It can fine-tune those parameters in real time.
Really?
Constantly adjusting and optimizing the process to achieve the highest possible yield and quality.
So it's not just about efficiency, it's also about making sure they're producing the best possible medicines.
It's about both, and that's a win for the company and ultimately for the patients.
Absolutely. So Caplin Point is really using technology in a smart way to improve their core business and deliver better products.
They're not just automating tasks, they're fundamentally changing how they approach manufacturing.
And speaking of change, they also mentioned something about digitalizing their quality assurance processes.
Yes, this is another crucial part of their transformation. They're moving away from traditional paper-based systems and embracing digital platforms.
So everything's going digital.
As much as possible, it's about streamlining the entire QA process, making it faster, more accurate, and more transparent.
And probably more secure too, right?
Definitely. And it aligns perfectly with the increasing demands from regulatory bodies like the US FDA. They're really emphasizing data integrity and electronic record keeping.
So Caplin Point is ahead of the curve there.
They are building a digital ecosystem for quality management, ensuring that every batch of their products meets the highest standards.
It sounds like they've got it all covered, but with all this data flying around, how do they make sense of it all?
Well, that's where these robust dashboards come in. They're creating a centralized, data-driven command center.
So kind of like a mission control for their manufacturing operations.
Exactly. They have real-time visibility into every aspect of the operation. Key performance indicators, everything is at their fingertips.
That's incredible. It's like they have their finger on the pulse of the entire operation 24/7.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, it's not just about collecting data, it's about using that data to gain actionable insights and drive continuous improvement.
So they're not just drowning in data, they're actually using it to make better decisions.
Exactly. They're creating a data-driven culture where every team member is empowered with the information they need to optimize performance.
It's a pretty impressive setup. I gotta say, Caplin Point is really setting a new standard for pharmaceutical manufacturing.
They are, and it's not just about being fancy or, following the latest trends. This is a strategic move that positions them for long-term success.
So how does this digital transformation translate into tangible benefits?
Well, for one, it allows them to scale their operations rapidly. They can maintain consistently high quality and respond quickly to changing market demands.
So they're building a foundation for sustainable growth.
Exactly. They're creating a competitive edge that's hard to replicate.
And it all goes back to their philosophy of profitable growth and value creation.
Absolutely. They're not just chasing short-term gains. They're investing in a future where their business is resilient, adaptable, and forward-thinking.
And that's what sets them apart from a lot of other companies. Throughout this deep dive, we've seen that Caplin Point isn't afraid to do things differently.
Right from their brave market approach to their focus on controlling the entire distribution process.
Exactly. So what do you think it is about Caplin Point that really makes them tick?
I think it goes beyond just their products or their technology or even their strategy.
Okay.
It's about their culture, their values, and their unique approach to business. They have this willingness to challenge conventional wisdom and find innovative solutions that really create value.
They're not just following the crowd, they're forging their own path.
Precisely. And it's not about being different for the sake of being different. It's about finding a better way, a more responsible way to do business.
And it's clear that they're committed to excellence in everything they do.
Absolutely. They're not just building a company, they're building a legacy.
And it's really inspiring to see a company like this coming out of India, proving that you don't have to be a giant corporation to make a global impact.
It's a great example of what's possible with a clear vision, a strong team, and the courage to think outside the box.
And the willingness to embrace change,
Yeah.
to constantly adapt and evolve in a dynamic world.
Exactly. Caplin Point is not content with standing still. They're always pushing boundaries and finding new ways to make a difference.
So we've talked about their journey, their strategies, their financials, their digital transformation. But there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, their commitment to sustainability.
Ah, yes. That's something that often gets overlooked, but it's a crucial part of their story.
You mentioned it earlier, and I'm curious to hear more.
Well, Caplin Point understands that true success isn't just about financial performance. It's about making a positive impact on the world around them.
So it's not just a PR stunt, they're actually walking the talk.
Absolutely. They're taking concrete steps to reduce their environmental footprint, like implementing energy-efficient technologies, minimizing waste and emissions. They even have a system for recycling treated wastewater.
Recycling wastewater.
Yes, they use it for gardening purposes.
Wow, that's impressive. It's like they're creating their own little ecosystem within their operations.
And their commitment extends beyond environmental concerns. They're also deeply involved in social responsibility initiatives.
Like what kind of initiatives?
Well, they're working to improve healthcare access for underprivileged communities. They organize medical camps, provide essential medicines, and they've even established charitable hospitals.
That's incredible. They're using their success to give back and make a real difference in the world.
It's all part of their broader philosophy of responsible growth. They understand that their success is intertwined with the well-being of their employees, their communities, and the planet as a whole.
It's a holistic approach and something that I think more companies should embrace.
It's not just about doing good, it's about doing well by doing good.
Exactly. And in the long run, I think this commitment to sustainability will benefit them in more ways than one.
Absolutely. Consumers are increasingly drawn to companies that share their values, so Caplin Point is positioning themselves as a leader in this space.
So they're not just building a profitable company, they're building a sustainable and responsible business that can thrive for years to come.
And that's what makes their story so compelling. It's a story of innovation, ambition, and a deep sense of purpose.
It's a story that inspires us to think bigger, to act bolder, and to strive for a future where business success and societal well-being go hand in hand. It's really impressive to see a company like Caplin Point, Not just focusing on profits, but really taking that extra step and making sustainability a core part of their operations.
Yeah, it's not just talk. They're actually putting it into practice.
Right. It's ingrained in their company culture.
Exactly. And they're taking concrete steps to reduce their environmental impact.
Yeah, like what kind of things are they doing specifically?
Well, for starters, they're implementing energy-efficient technologies in their manufacturing facilities.
That makes sense.
They're really focused on minimizing waste and emissions.
So they're looking at the entire process from start to finish.
Right, and get this, they even have a system for recycling treated wastewater.
Really? Recycling wastewater, what do they do with it?
They use it for gardening purposes.
Wow, that's amazing. So they're turning what would normally be waste into a valuable resource.
Exactly. It's a smart way to minimize their environmental footprint.
And, their sense of responsibility goes beyond just the environment, too.
Right. They're deeply involved in various social initiatives as well.
Yeah, can you give me some examples?
Sure. So they're working to improve healthcare access for underprivileged communities.
Okay.
They organize medical camps, provide essential medicines, and they've even established charitable hospitals.
So they're really giving back to the communities where they operate.
Absolutely. And it all stems from their philosophy of responsible growth.
That idea that a company's success is tied to the well-being of its people and the planet.
It's a holistic approach that more companies could benefit from.
I agree. It's not just about doing good. It's about recognizing that doing good is actually good for business.
Exactly. And I think in the long run, Caplin Point's commitment to sustainability will really pay off for them.
How so?
Well, consumers these days are much more aware, and they're actively looking for brands that align with their values.
So it's a smart business decision as well.
It is. Caplin Point is positioning themselves as a leader in this space, and that's going to attract both customers and investors.
So they're showing that sustainability and profitability aren't mutually exclusive.
They can actually go hand in hand.
And that's what makes their story so compelling. They're redefining what it means to be a responsible business in today's world.
It's a story that's both inspiring and instructive.
It really is. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
We've talked about Caplin Point's incredible journey, their smart strategies, their impressive financials, their innovative approach to technology, and their unwavering commitment to sustainability.
They've certainly given us a lot to think about.
They have. They've set a high bar for other companies to follow.
Absolutely. It's been a fascinating exploration.
It has. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
That's good.
Listeners, we hope you've enjoyed learning about Caplin Point Laboratories as much as we have.
It's a company that's worth keeping an eye on.
Absolutely. And we encourage you to explore further and learn more about this inspiring company.
And, of course, stay tuned for more deep dives into other fascinating companies and industries.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.